Welcome to the book of Shmuel Bet, chapter 21, Perek Chaf Aleph, the story of David and the Givonim, another story of King David that involves moral complications. This is the story of David HaMelech and the Givonim. In the kingdom of Israel, David establishes himself again. He makes himself known as the monarch. This is after all the challenges of Shalom, etc. And now what happens is there's famine, not a political conflict, but there's famine. 3 years of difficult famine in the land of Israel. And people are wondering, why it is that Hashem punished Bnei Israel to have such a terrible famine, putting everyone's life in danger. And so it says that David seeks the consult of Hashem. He asks the Urim Vetumim. He discusses why is it that all this happened? And Hashem says this is a punishment for what Shaul has done to the Givonim. Now, if you remember from the book of Yehoshua, the Givonim were a people from Canaan, from the land of Canaan, Israel, who came deceitfully to Yehoshua, pretending to not be one of the 7 nations that Hashem commanded to wage war against. And they come and they say, we came from a foreign land, we want to have a covenant with you. Usually the Torah forbids making a covenant with the 7 nations of Israel, of Canaan. However, the Givonim, in their case, what happened is they misled Bnei Israel. They pretended to come from a foreign land. They made a covenant with Bnei Israel. Then Bnei Israel, Yehoshua discovered that it was deceit, but they already made a deal. And so Yehoshua said, okay, they're going to live among us in peace. We already made a treaty with them, a truce with them, but they're going to be servants to Bnei Israel. They'll be wood choppers and water drawers. Now, fast forward, what did Shaul do to the Givonim that is so bad that Hashem tells David via the Urim Vetumim that the famine in Israel has come because of what Shaul did to the Givonim? What big sin did Shaul do to the Givonim? So if you look at the simple reading of the Pasuk, the sin that Shaul committed against the Givonim, it says, Vayomer Hashem el Shaul ve'el beit hadamim al asher hemita Givonim. It's about Shaul and the fact that he killed the Givonim. However, if you look back not even one book ago, you see that Shaul didn't do anything to the Givonim. So what has Shaul done to the Givonim? So there's a few discussions of this. The Gemara in Masechet Yevamot offers a explanation, and the Gemara says, well, since Shaul killed Nov, the city of Kohanim, therefore the Givonim no longer had someone to support them, so it's as if Shaul killed them. There's actually a passage in the Talmud Yerushalmi that says no, Shaul actually killed 7 members of the Givonim, and that's what it's about. Either way, the understanding of David is that Shaul committed a sin against the Givonim, and it's for that sin that the land is with famine. Vaikra melech Givonim, the king calls the Givonim and he says, what's going on, guys? Tell me, why are you so angry, and how can I achieve your forgiveness? So the Givonim say, actually, we don't want any gold, we don't want any silver. However, we want revenge. Wow. That's pretty intense. They say, we don't want any gold, we don't want any silver, but we want revenge from Shaul, and Shaul is no longer alive, but give us 7 of his descendants, I guess corresponding to the 7 people who he killed from us, and we are going to kill them, which is pretty horrible. And the shocking part is, you'd think David is like, no way. The shocking part is David says, sure, no problem. I will give you 7 descendants of Shaul that you can exact your retribution, your vengeance, and your harsh feelings against. Again, there's a whole discussion on Gemara. How was this possible? How is it okay? How can David take 7 Jewish people, give them to the Givonim? Also, it says that no child can be punished for what his father or forefathers have done. And so how is David taking innocent people, 7 innocent people from the house of Shaul, and how is he giving them to the Givonim? Very troubling. The Gemara speaks about it, and it says it's because of what Shaul did, and it would be a chilul Hashem if not. You can see the Gemara, but the bottom line is David takes 7 people, and he spares one. He spares Mephibosheth, the son of Yonatan, the son of Shaul, because David had an oath to Yonatan that he's going to be remain faithful to him. And the king then takes the two sons of Shaul's, Pilegesh, Ritzpah, Bat Ayah, and their names are Armoni, Mephibosheth, and he takes the five sons of Michal, Bat Shaul, who was married to Adriel, and he gives them to the Givonim. So 7 people, two are the children of Ritzpah Bat Ayah, 5 are the children of Michal Bat Shaul, and he gives them to the Givonim, and in fact, the Givonim exact revenge on them, and unfortunately, tragically, cruelly take their lives. Now, very, very heartbreaking scene here, because Ritzpah Bat Ayah, the Pilegesh of Shaul, whose two sons were killed by the Givonim, she goes to the place where the Givonim killed her sons, and she does not leave their bodies. She sits there for months upon months upon months. It says she sits there from the time of the harvest, around the time of Shavuot, all the way until the rain season after Sukkot. She did not let their bodies to be eaten by any animals. She basically sat there at the side of her own children's bodies, and she was there to protect them. David gets word of what she has done, and so he takes the bones of Shaul and Yonatan from Yavesh Gilad, where it was, and he creates a place for them all to be buried together in the land of Binyamin, near Kish, the father of Shaul. So it's a horrible fate that all these people in Shaul's family have, but there's sort of this comforting scene where Shaul and Yonatan's bodies are returned from the people in the Gilboa, Yavesh Gilad, then the two bodies of the children of Ritzpah Bat Ayah are all buried together in the grave of Kish. And lo and behold, after all this happens, it starts raining, and the famine that was on people of Israel is indeed, it does indeed go away. All right, next, there's a scene of war between the Plishtim and David, and they go and they fight, and they take Ishbi Benov, who is extremely strong. He's a strong Plishti. Almost reminds you of the story of Goliath. And Avishai ben Tzruya goes and he kills the Plishti. But then the people of David tell David, listen, you almost were assassinated by a Plishti, by Yishbi Benov, this huge, strong Plishti. So it's not a good idea for you to come with us again to war, so that we don't have a loss of a king. And so David decides to not go to war again together with everyone, lest he be killed. Afterwards, there's a war with the Plishtim in a place named Gov, and again, there's this exchange between these specialized forces, between Sibchai Hushati, and there's this whole war. Then I take special note of this pasuk. Why? Because it is the only place in Tanakh where my own name is mentioned. The name Elchanan is mentioned only once in the entire Tanakh, and that is right here. There's a war between the Bnei Israel and the Plishtim in Gov, and there's a guy named Elchanan ben Ya'arei Orgim Beit Halachmi, which means the Elchanan, who was the guy who was able to carry a weaving beam, and he's from Beit Lechem. Some of the commentaries say that that's actually David. Others say it's one of David's heroes, but he goes to another Plishti, not the Goliath you're thinking about, Goliath Hagiti from Gat, and he goes and he beats him. So that's the story of this Elchanan. That's all we know about Elchanan. That is my name right there in the Tanakh. Then there's a fight in Gat, and there's a story about this wild stuff going on with the Plishtim. There's a guy who has 26 fingers, and also he's the son of Rapha, just like the other Plishti heroes here who are like unusually sized, and he curses Hashem, and also he is taken away. So all of these are children of Harafa, which, by the way, some people say are Orpah, is Orpah, which is the woman in the book of Ruth, the one who married either Machlon or Kilion, the one who chose not to come back to Israel with Naomi. She had 4 sons, each of whom was unusually sized, very strong. and so they were all struck. And some say it turns out that David and Goliath were somehow related. That's a wild world. But yeah, that is the chapter we've done. Chapter 21, Perek Chaf Aleph. You have the story of David and the Givonim. There's a famine for 3 years. David asks Hashem. Turns out it's because of what Shaul did to the Givonim. David takes 7 descendants of Shaul. They get taken by the Givonim, who execute them, and then Ritzpah Bataya, the mother of 2 of them, sits there with them until finally David agrees to have them buried, brings Shaul's body and Yonatan's body, and has them all buried. And then it starts raining again, and everything's okay. David is almost killed in war, so he decides not to go out in war again. Then you have all these 4 freaky children of Harapha, which some say are Orpah from the book of Ruth, and they all get eliminated by David and his people. That is Perek Chaf Aleph. Stay tuned with what I believe is the penultimate. No, you still have a few more prakim all the way to Chaf Daled, but stay tuned. We're almost there at the end.